Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and tonight we're going to talk about Captain Toad Treasure Tracker for the Nintendo Wii U, a new release for the system that I recently beat. And essentially this is a adventure puzzle game, obviously developed and published by Nintendo, and I was very excited when this game got announced around E3 of this year. Mainly because of two reasons. One, I like Toad as a character. I've been using him ever since I played Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo. He's been a favorite, or one of my favorite Nintendo characters out there. And obviously this is not the first time that you're able to use him. Games like Super Mario Bros. 2 and Wario's Woods had you play as Toad. But this is his first, own game, so I thought that was pretty cool for Nintendo to give Toad the spotlight. And the second thing, or the second reason why I was excited when this game got announced at E3 was because I really enjoyed the Captain Toad levels that were within Super Mario 3D World. For those of you that have played that game, basically there are offshoot levels that are not platforming in Super Mario 3D World that star Captain Toad, and those levels are puzzle based games that really help the game, really help the diversity in that game, because it allowed you to take a break from the typical 3D platforming and focus on these puzzle levels. So I love those levels. In fact, I remember I made a post on Miiverse asking, hey Nintendo, it'll be really cool if you put DLC content for Captain Toad levels. And sure enough, to my surprise, not only did Nintendo release more levels, but they released a full-fledged game with over 70 levels. So needless to say, I was pretty stoked when Nintendo put this on E3, on their E3 presentation. So with that being said, there are some things that fell a little bit short of my expectations when it comes to this game, but we'll talk about that in the gameplay department, or the gameplay portion of the video. First, let's talk a little bit about the story. And I know this is a Nintendo game, and Nintendo game equals simplicity when it comes to story, but let me just say that this game does a pretty good job of connecting some events that happen in Super Mario 3D World, which it may sound crazy because that game also has a very simple story, but it's pretty neat and pretty funny how some of the events are connected between the two games. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but once you beat this game, you'll see what what are some of the events that happen. And essentially, the gist of the story here is that both Captain Toad and his partner Toadette get in trouble. They're treasure hunters, and they're always on the lookout for new treasure. And when they're trying to get this pretty big shiny gold star, they get in trouble with the Wingo, which is this boss right here. And he kidnaps Toadette because she doesn't want to let go of the treasure. So she gets kidnapped, and it's up to Captain Toad to save her. And later on in the game, after you save her, you're able to play as Toadette, and the roles are reversed because you play as Toadette and you have to save Captain Toad. So basically, the moral of the game is that greed can lead you into trouble, basically. Now, as far as the graphics, let me tell you, this game looks amazing, and it's no surprise because the game runs on the same graphics engine that Super Mario 3D World does, and as we all know, that game looks amazing. So expect to see a lot of colorful, crisp, and just overall great graphics, full of charm, full of details. And again, it's just those colors and the use of lighting effects that really pop when you play. There's something that Nintendo did right with that graphics engine, and Captain Toad is definitely a very nice looking game. As far as the soundtrack, no surprises, amazing songs. Very similar to the ones in Mario 3D World, so expect to see a lot of, or expect to hear a lot of good stuff from this game. Now let's talk a little bit about the gameplay, which is the main focus of the game, and the one part that it fell a little bit short of my expectations. For being a puzzle game, I do have to say that this game is rather simplistic in that regard. The levels basically revolve around you playing as Toad or Toadette, and you have to collect a gold star to end the level. In order to reach the gold star, you have to, sometimes solve puzzles, or sometimes you have to find your way around enemies and things like that. Each level has 3 hidden jewels or gems or diamonds, however you want to call it, that are collectibles, and it's encouraged that the player tries to collect as many as possible, because some of the later levels in the game are locked, and you need a certain amount of gems to unlock the levels and progress in the story. So each level has 3 gems. You can always go back and try and collect them all, and there's also a hidden objective within each level. So you're gonna find yourself playing each level at least twice, I would say, if you want to fully complete all the levels in the game. Now, the one main critique that I have in terms of the gameplay is that the puzzle solving in this game is very simplistic, to the point that sometimes the puzzle solving organically blends with just the natural progression of the levels. You may be walking from point A to point B, and without realizing, the game does have you try to solve a puzzle, but you already solved it by moving the camera around and just figuring things out very quick and very fast. Maybe that's something that had to do with the fact that Nintendo always aims to deliver its games to a broad audience, including young people. So it's harder to implement a level of difficulty with this type of games, as opposed to Mario games, where you can have the first few levels be extremely easy, but if you want to play like the extra levels or the unlocked levels, the platforming is really hard. So that's kind of like geared towards hardcore platformer gamers out there. With Captain Toad, it's really hard to establish or draw that line between having challenging puzzles and easy puzzles. So the game lacks a certain satisfaction, or me personally, I did not find the puzzle solving satisfactory. For example, the first Portal game for the PC, I'm a huge fan of the first Portal game, and I found that game to be easy. Like, I never really got stuck in any of the puzzle solving, but yet again, every time I solved a puzzle or every time I completed a level, there was a sense of satisfaction and a sense of something that clicked when you solved a certain thing to progress in the levels. That thing is missing from Captain Toad. There's that lacking component of how thinking that it's a clever designed level or a clever designed puzzle. So that is one of my negative points with this game. A couple other things regarding the gameplay: you cannot jump into enemies, so platforming in this game is basically zero. You have to find workarounds, such as using items such as a pickaxe, where you can kill enemies with the pickaxe, or you can drop from a higher height into enemies to kill them. So the game does have its workarounds, and it's good because if you were able to jump in this game, it would have been so much easier. So that's part of the challenge, or the game is overall really easy, but it does force you to have workarounds in terms of progressing through the levels and getting through or around enemies and things like that. So the game does have its own unique set of rules that you have to follow. Now each level, again, they're very small levels. It's almost like looking into a diorama, really, the way the levels are presented, and the levels are very short. You can beat levels within 5 to 10 minutes. So it is recommended that you play the games, beat 4 or 5 levels, and then just stop playing the game and take a break or something like that, because the game is very short. It took me around I believe 7 hours. So you can beat this game between 6 and 8 hours, and that was one of the main critiques out there with reviewers. They thought the game was too short. Which is true. It takes between 6 and 8 hours to beat the game. However, if you're a completionist, if you go back to the levels, there are unlockable levels that you get at the end of the game, as well as other game modes such as time attack, and things like that. So if you're a completionist and you want to go 100% in this game, it'll take you around 20 hours, which in my opinion is pretty decent considering this is a budget title. Nintendo released this game and its price point is $40, brand new. So I think that's a pretty acceptable and acceptable price point for the amount of content that you're gonna get in this game. So with that being said, it may sound like I critique the game a little bit too much, but for $40, I think it's a very good game, worthy of being in your Wii U collection, and it's very unique. I mean, you don't get to see games like this being released too often out there. Another complaint that I have with the game, and this is perhaps my biggest or most negative point in the game, it's the fact that the game forces you to use, or the game has gyroscope camera controls in the gamepad, and you cannot turn them off. The good thing is that you can use a second analog stick to control the camera, but at the same time the game locks forces you to have the implementation of the gyroscope. So you may be holding your gamepad and the slightest move in the gamepad will switch the camera angles, and it's really annoying because you cannot turn that off. Now the game does not make use of the Pro controller. You can only use the gamepad, which is understandable, and it works quite well because there are some levels where you have to touch the screen or you have to use the microphone to like blow some platforms and things like that. But the only complaint that I have with the gamepad is the gyroscope thing. You cannot turn it off, and that is a major negative in my opinion. And camera control in this game, by the way, is critical. That's how you basically solve the levels. You constantly have to be rotating the camera to find your way around the levels, and that's how you solve the puzzles in this game. It's all based in exploration and observation, similarly to Eco in the PlayStation 2. That game, I remember when I played that game, I would go into a new area, stop for a little bit, look at the environments, just explore the environments with the camera and see what my next step would be. And Captain Toad is really all about camera control. It's all about figuring out your next move, what you're gonna do, and it's very important to zoom in and zoom out around the level to take a look and see what you have to do next. So overall, Captain Toad, a pretty good game. Highly recommended, actually. It's something different, it's something unique, and if you enjoy the Captain Toad levels in Super Mario 3D World, I think you're going to be pretty pleased with this package right here. Unfortunately, like I said, the puzzle solving is a little bit too simplistic, a little bit too easy, and the camera controls are really annoying because of the gyroscope forced gimmick that Nintendo put in the game. But overall, Captain Toad, in my opinion, a very solid game. Worthy of checking out if you have a Wii U, and I'm really glad the game got got released. It's a fun title overall, a little bit on the short and easy side, but again, it's a budget title, and I think the game does have some cool features. There's also future amiibo support. Nintendo announced for this game. I'm not really sure how it's gonna work out because I can't really see a full-fledged functionality that amiibos are going to bring to the game, but nevertheless, it's out there, and it'll happen in the near future, according to Nintendo. But Captain Toad, a pretty fun game. Some flaws in the levels or in the puzzle solving, but a fairly enjoyable experience on the Wii U. So that's it for now. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.